Welcome everybody to BeoTalk Podcast number 12 already.
So, speaking of speakers, we talked about, the top fives.
Yeah,
About
that's actually.
which one would be the top five speakers. Well, obviously, I have the top five of all
But
speakers.
should we do it as a round? We go with I tell with five, my five, and then four and three and two and one. Or should we all go one person go 1 to 5, or how should we do it? So
I would say go 5 to 1, go person by person, but 5 to 1 or 1 to 5 doesn't matter. It's up to you.
Yeah, let's start with the shiitake ones.
So Eric, since it was sort of your idea, you're up.
Yeah, I have to remember now what speaker I used. But for my number 5, I used I think the Beolab 4000 because you can place them almost everywhere, and you get very good sound, especially now for those second-hand prices.
Yes.
So if the person should be getting started with Bang & Olufsen, I often recommend those speakers because you can place them everything. You can use them with line-in, so you don't have to have Bang & Olufsen stereo. So perfect.
Okay.
And different colors and different covers for the fronts, the fabric stuff. And then I think I will go for the Beolab 18s because they look very good and great successor to the 8000. And same there, you can place them in different types of your home. Use them. Many use them as a classic front speakers or for the stereo. So
They're a design statement too, right? Like they are.
Yeah, and I think
they're an icon.
I was so afraid when they released that the 8000 was end of production and there was something new to come, and I thought, oh, don't ruin it this time.
Yeah,
but
this time.
Yeah, I think they look better. I really like the design, especially the lower part when it curves down like the orgel. What's it called?
Organ pipe. Yeah.
Yeah, the organ pipe. Yeah. So it looks much more slimmer now, and I like introduce the wood for it. So.
But also, like if you compare 18s to 8000s, like they also communicate the amount of aluminum precision machining that they can do now.
Yeah.
Because that spot where the tube meets the bottom cone, I guess, so to speak, because it's more, it's got that vasey look. They are very hard to notice. Like that seam line, where on the 8000s, obviously the bottom ice cream cone essentially just not that it screws on, but it basically sits, right? So that line was very distinct, even though I don't know how much intent was it to make it, some had more offset than the others, where those tolerances now are I guess
better. Yeah.
Well, they're unacceptable in today's terms for the 8000 or 18s, right?
Yeah. So what would be your number 3 then?
Yeah, I just want to say that also that with the stands, because the floor stand on the 8000 wasn't. Yeah, it was good that you can have the ability to put them on the wall, but the wall stands on the 18s. I mean, they look fabulous, and I was not sure about them at first, but now I really, really like them.
Do you have the original Bang & Olufsen one or the STB ones?
The standard from Bang & Olufsen.
Okay.
They're really smooth on the way.
Yeah.
Go from the wall and go the way up. But on my number 3, I think I have to choose the red line speakers. The old ones, because it was my first pair of Bang & Olufsen speakers, and the first true Bang & Olufsen speakers I saw, because the way I got started was that my sister's boyfriend had an old set that he bought from a friend that was living in this prototype house that was this firm called Expert that was co-working with Bang & Olufsen. So they did a whole apartment with the MX 6000 TV, and all this was in white, and the old Beomaster system and all of it. So yeah, I like the speakers looks very modern to me and great sound, and I especially liked the old Redline cable where they get its name from. So
the telephone cord. Yeah. Those were sweet.
It's nice to see now that this company, what's it called, BeoCrate, that doing the amplifier, putting it in old speakers like the CX,
the
CX
50s,
speakers. Yeah, and now they're doing the Redline speaker. So that was nice to see them getting some life again.
You could put a YSAT module in the Redlines because they're made of plastic, so they potentially could take the antenna. Yeah,
I had plans for them for some years ago to getting them kind of modern, to get them like active speakers.
They're big now though.
Yeah, but I still like the design of it.
2 freaking pillows in the corners.
Yeah.
Okay. I have a feeling now that after us saying this, we're going to end up with the top 2 that's the same across all of us.
Yeah, maybe this would be interesting because my top 2 guesses.
I think on number 2 you have to put the Beolab 5s personally.
Yeah.
I would say, or if those are your top 5 at this point, but then again, depends what you listen to and how much you're accustomed to it.
Yeah, but the 5s are magnificent. They are. I like speakers that doesn't look like regular speakers at home. The typical boxy standard speaker when you can see the speaker elements.
Yeah.
From bottom to toe, bass, and then mid-range, and like the Bowers and Wilkins. Or they look like the Bowers and Wilkins, but these ones, they are more a statement in the house, and people always ask what are they, and they look very cool, and it doesn't look like anything else.
No, but it also matches the Herman Miller lamp from back in the more or less 50s, right, where that was designed.
Yeah,
so it's
I have
just
to do
ties
it for
in.
There, you see the edge of it.
Very nice. Right over your shoulder.
Yeah.
So it definitely, that speaker. Well, I've spent a lot of time around it, man. So I know I have a lot of respect for the Lab 5s. Yeah. They are truly amazing, and they have been for many years prior. Right.
When I have friends over and it's a conversation starter, what they are and how they sound and how they look and everything. Especially when you have them in white also, because everyone has them in black. So
yes,
to have them in white.
It's a statement on its own, right?
Yeah.
That's basically what it is. Same thing, I guess, with the white 90s or any white speaker, in my opinion, because a lot of people just go for the traditional, right? I guess colors.
Again, they can be highly customized. You'll see in about 8 seconds. These are red ones this time.
Oh yeah, well for sure. But I'm talking like if you want to be the proper B&O, right?
Yeah.
If you want to get the grills, you didn't have an option at that point because so you still don't, other than the smoked grills or lamellas for the back with the 50s. Other than that, you got to send them out to people, third party, to do them. Yeah, those were red ones. I don't know if that's the Asian market or that's just the different hues of red that they do.
Yeah, because they did.
These are custom again.
Yeah, it's custom, but they did the clear red.
Yeah.
And gold plates for the Chinese market, I think.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, a friend of mine had 4 in his house in this country.
I don't like the red ones.
I like them.
I mean, he had a red leather couch, so it all sort of matched.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a different story. If you have some, I just don't have anything to tie the red into, even though I got a red grill for the V1. But the funny part is that you can barely see it. It's just so subdued. It would probably come more in a black on a black TV than white, which is weird.
When you have these kind of speakers that make so big statement as there is, I don't think you have to match them with colors in the rest of your house. So if you have a big white wall and you have some furniture like a sideboard or something you have on the stairs or something.
Definitely, it's an accent, right? It's a statement also that there is. Yeah. But and also my problem is here in Calgary, more or less, or not many people go to these crazy colors, even white ones. People just take them black. Even on TV grills, they don't do that. So. And
for me, that's also had the 9s before, and hadn't been listening so much to the 5s. For me to go, that big step upwards in money, if it was worth it at all. But now when I think about it, it's completely worth it because they are so much better. They are totally worth the extra money because they are that extra technology and more controlled with the sound and more natural. It's much better.
I bet you they'll be still in the top 10% of speakers in 10 years from now.
Yeah. And people
not many do that automatic calibration, right? And especially for the age and time and era that this was produced at. Like, this was a groundbreaker back in 2003, right?
Yeah, 2003. So it's almost
it's 15 years ago now, for God's sake.
Yeah. And when I tell people it's 15 years old, but no, it should be completely new. Well, that's the thing about Bang Olufsen. The design is 12, timeless and like 10 to 15 years ahead of its time, I think. So that's my number 2, and guess number 1 then.
That would be the 90s probably, right?
No.
Not many speakers. No? Not surprised. 50s?
Not even that. No,
8000s?
The Freeze.
The Lab 3s?
Yeah, because those are the speakers that surprised me the most. I know when you look at the 5s, you can see they have a lot of power. But when I first got into the store and saw the Beolab Freeze,
I agree with you. I dropped my jaw.
Yeah, and you saw the price tag, but sorry, but you have misprinted this because they are tiny. They're like computer speakers. It should be like the successor to the Force, but damn. And now when I use them, and now they have them as computer speakers, but they really fill up like a big room. They do so.
So you have surround sound on your computer. You have 3s in the front and 4000 in the rear.
No, it's not. I have 2 computer rooms. I have one in the bedroom where they have
Isn't
her girlfriend. Yeah. So she has the 4000. Of course, I have to have the little better one, so I have the 3s.
Well, you're not gonna be logging your stuff in and out.
And also that funny. With the Freeze, and the same as 4000, you can place them in so many ways, and the only bad thing about the Freeze is this only one power link, so you can't do multi.
Well, you could, but then
but you have to dongle,
aux splitter and whatever, and it sucks because then it gets bulky and ugly, right?
Yeah, I walked into a audio dealership where they have the big R8, and around that they have symmetrically freeze like line up around the whole store, so it's looked very nice.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So they sound awesome. Those speakers, they surprised me the most as well when I first walked in.
And I like speakers that doesn't, you have to direct to the listener. You get that 180 degrees, not only with the acoustic lens, but with the side woofers and
with the passive woofers, but they do help quite a bit.
Yeah.
It wasn't the most accurate speaker on the bass level because of them, because it was basically the same principle as the Beolab 2 had, right? So that flop was noticeable, but not to my ear at the time, because I also didn't, like now it's when you, after listening to 90s for almost 2 years or a year and a half, it changes your perspective on all the speakers.
Yeah, so when I also tell people when they ask me what speaker should I get as my first speaker, well, of course, 4,000, depending on your money, but second in market on the Freeze, go and get them. It looked great in black and white and different placements, so...
No, they still sound excellent.
Yeah, they really do.
I have one client that has them in blue color, which they're kind of nice. The red ones I liked a lot. The red color on that paint job that had that metallic shimmer.
Yeah.
Those beautiful.
Yeah, there was in the magazine, from an old Beo magazine from like 2008 or something, when they have the Beovision 840, and it has it in this kids room that you have.
Yes.
Kids would have the 40.
The Lab 3s.
Yeah, and the Lab 3s on this small floor stands.
Yeah, I saw that one. Yeah, that was funny too.
That's not
not realistic.
Yeah.
And the kid almost looked like it was just about to slap the display. Yeah. I remember that picture. And the parents are laughing on the couch in the background. Look at it do that.
So who will go next?
Willie.
Yeah, Willie.
I'll go next then. Well, I guess from the top 5s, the number 5 would be the 6000s. I always liked the 6000s just because how sleek and slender they were. And when they finally introduced the wall brackets, like we had them on the wall in the shop, they looked very nice. They sounded good, but they sounded flat in the bass, right? But they were, to me, Yeah, but they were very good. You know, for me, I liked them, and they worked out for me in a spoken word radio conversations, right? That you listen to the radio in the office or whatever. They have a very good sound. Music, okay, but not when you start listening to Skrillex or something else.
Yeah, but they are surprisingly good, although, but the 4000 are better in the bass. But...
And the reason why I like them more than I like the 8000s, because the 8000s did not have the mesh grills, and over time the grill fabric would get stretched out, and the base port would make the flop, which would smack against the base port, and then you get that. It almost sounded like the drivers were blown because it was distorting the sound. You know, when like it would just give you that flapping sound, right? So that's one of the reasons why I didn't like the 8000s as much for that. They sounded fabulous, but
it looked
5,
good, especially in the back. Good. Yeah.
So
just kind of speak
that would be, and then also the like I said, the fabrics, the colors on them were a little more modular than they were on the 8000s.
Mm-hmm.
They were a little more hideable in a lot more places. There's houses
designed as a rear speaker.
You have the 6000s, I think because 8000s you can tell, right? They stand out. They're just bold, and the 6000s they're quite in there. And I hope that and wish that B&O comes out with something that essentially does its rendition of it. Wouldn't even hurt to have an acoustic lens that would be motorized, make them a little chunkier, and just have the lens pop out or go flat, just like on the 50s, like a mini 50. Make it a 25.
I would have plans for. I would like the design of because the Beolab T1500, the Master Links. Yeah, it had the same design as the 6000, and now that they have the BeoSound 35 with that, penta, the 5 edges.
Yeah. I liked it.
Yeah, we liked it, but put it on the side and put the bass always and use it as a penta. As a reminiscence to the Penta and the 6000. I think they could made.
They could, but that speaker, I don't think that it sells as much as they would wish that it would sell.
Yeah.
Like the 3500 was a great idea, but at the end of the day, the acoustics of the 3500, it was basically a rich man's alarm clock.
Yeah.
It sucked. Acoustically, it sucked. It was good. In my house, I have it in the kitchen, and it's more or less just for the spoken radio and in the morning news, and that's it. I don't really listen to music through it, but because there's a BB9 and a set of speakers I had the Lab 9, so they filled the room quite well, but you would still turn on the 3500 just to project the sound, more or less for the tweeter and treble of it, because you have the bass from the 9s, more or less than anything. So, but if it comes to number 4, I would say it would be Lab 4s. I like the sound of them. I still kept the set. They're very accurate on a top end. Obviously, there's not much bass. When you sit in front of them, like they're very good computer speakers. Yet I never used them for that application.
I like the design, but
they were the most modular speaker. I hated the floor stand option unless the STB bracket is concerned with the Lab 3 stands and the wire go through the pipe.
Yeah.
Because I don't know what was David Lewis on at the time when he was designing that, along with the BeoSound 4.
Yes.
That came with that
silver
awful ass braid that you would hide the cable with, and then this, to me, IKEA grade clear PVC plastic clip that you clip on the floor stand's pipe, and then you just fudge the wire into it, and it's just what in the heck. But I love the 4s in the ceiling applications. They're very, very nice looking. On the wall, they kind of look like Madonna boobs because they just stick out all like. Right? But if you do them on those there's 2 original wall brackets. If you do the original wall bracket, then they kind of look weird when they're on the top, but they look good when they're upside down because it almost looks like a wall sconce, yet it's not. So I like them, and they're still a good bedroom or a surround speaker. They definitely are the most expensive, cheapest speaker that they make.
Yeah, it was very, very expensive.
$1,200, and I like the fact that the modular grills, that you can actually make them, 3 colors if you really wanted to, because that was an option, right? You could change the grills around. For number 3, I would say the Lab 9s would be my absolute favorite as far as the when it comes to the acoustic lens speakers. The Lab 3s, they're nice, but I changed my opinion of that whole thing once I owned the set of 9s. You've owned the set of 9s as well, and you know how they sound. I've blown the set of 3s running them with set of 9s on my BB9.
The only problem that I have with the nines is the placement, because they are very, very low. So you have to be in a low position to get the perfect ear sync with the.
Yeah, you know what? When you sit far enough, they are.
Because the fives are a little bit higher up, so they cover up better, ear level. But
I love the nines. I love the nines.
Yeah, me too.
It was one of the speakers that really looked good in white color as well. The only drawback of it was that it took the dust through the bass and the mid-range driver over time, and then you could see it pronounced, right? I remedied that on the white 90s here with I have this little Milwaukee blower, so that pushes 130 miles an hour of wind onto the sails, and I get all the dust off it. So I don't really, when I do it periodically once a week, just religiously, right? Because I don't, it's still $100,000. You don't want to get, just like I guess you don't let your Ferrari have dust settle.
Yeah, and the same way that the 18s was a good successor to the 8000.
Yes.
The 20s was not a good successor.
I agree with you
design,
on that.
I think.
I would rather figure out a way to jam a Wi-Fi receiver into the back of the 9 than get a set of 20s.
Yeah.
Because 20s, I don't think that they even had enough beans as much as the 9s had. And, the only drawback, which was funny to the Penguins, is that the bass always rolled out after the tweeters and mid-range, because the mid-range and tweeters were analog, so they turned on right away. But the bass came in, maybe a 2 seconds later, so just all of a sudden, there's the music.
Yeah.
But I really did like them a lot. Number 2, obviously, would be the 5s. I spent a lot of time around them. There was they were my absolute look at and a dream speaker at the time, because there was no 50s or anything else. The 20s came out, and I'm like, yeah, they're kind of nice, but I don't know, And the 5s always had it, right? Like, you could get drunk and they would still hold on.
Yeah, I've seen people when they got drunk that
Yeah, you wake up in the morning,
stand on
your
it.
voice coils are sitting on the ground, and it's like, what happened here?
Yeah.
But,
Built like tanks,
Yeah.
No, the 5s. The only drawback now on the first generations of them, that this amplifier chassis are now dying off. It's still replaceable, so it
But
sucks.
when you look at it as a picture I've seen it now from like the profile, you see the sharp edges of it. Yeah,
like that speaker
amazing.
Man, and everything had its purpose, right? Like the platters were there to roll off the mid-range and the whole frequency band properly out of the driver, and same thing for the tweeters and the top cap that was basically the lens, right? So I really like them. I like the fact that you can tune them, and we've done it. It was funny because we brought them. We had a show in Aston Martin dealership. It was we did one of those coffee-in cars, which was every Saturday. But then DBS9 or DB9, one of those crazy cars that came out. I'm not a car nut, so I don't remember. But it was a inexpensive vehicle, and we did the show because the Avant just came out as well. The Avant was crazy cool, and we put the 5s in there, and you tune them for this huge dealership. And like they sounded amazing, for that time. I guess now knowing the 90s, you kind of have your judgment stands, but they sounded amazing. And then we didn't tune them. We brought them back into the theater here in our shop, and we let them as they were. And man, like the bass, because obviously they were compensating for a huge dealership, so we left them. Like it was just unbelievable. Like, okay, no, let's tune them back to see what they actually supposed to sound like. And I still absolutely love those speakers. I don't think I would ever own a pair now after owning the set of 90s, which obviously is the number one. Simply because it's so hard to go back to an inaccurate speaker now, right? Like I have a hard time listening to anything else now. I usually have the sound off in the room if I don't listen to music. If there's anything else going, the 90s are going with it. They're driving.
Of course they are the best speaker, but compared to the price and the people place their homes.
Well, you do get what you pay for, but to me, it was the number one. The 5s were the number one, but the 90s now obviously take the cake. I'd be crazy to say that there was a better speaker than that. And owning them for a year and something, you can definitely tell the imminent improvement in technologies. After listening to 5s for 15 years now, right, or at least a decade. Then you hear all that, like, wow, like there is a lot of stuff that these speakers do, that they delete the noise, that, you know, like, and it's not to chop on any other speakers, but there is not just, the technology is not there, right? Like that there's how much commitment of time, even though it took him only 3 years, I guess, to develop the Lab 90s only. There's been a lot of technologies that were inherited and borrowed from, you know, obviously the fives, obviously the pentas, as far as, you know, like the shape of them, and you know how they deal with the heat and how it's all managed and everything. It's pretty crazy. Even the fact that they consider that the heat rising from the back of the cooling fins will affect how the sound is basically transmitted to you. So that's why they're out the back. But yeah, to me they are. If they weren't the ones, I would bump the two of the fives and nines by one, and I would definitely include pentas as number 3.
Yeah.
If you go to Jeff Martin's blog, you can read more craziness about it. Like in chat, you can see my cursor is showing a little ledge. Apparently, when in the first design that stuck out a bit too much, and then at a meter distance it changed the mids by 1 dB. So they changed the little ledge.
Wow.
Geekiness.
But that's well, but you know what though? If you're dead set and hell bent on making the best speaker on the planet, then 1 dB makes a big difference.
Yeah, and I like that.
It is actually noticeable for
Focus
human
on
beings.
perfection. Yeah.
Yeah, they're
crazy.
crazy.
At his ear. That's what I'm, because when you listen to it, and I had him tuned out, you know, when you go from wide, which is exactly what the Lab 5 sound like. They sound awesome, but they sound even through the room, right? Like the singer isn't standing there that you can point at. Like, you know that the music's coming from that side, and like the stereo is nice, the imaging is very well done, but there is that 3D does not exist, and it didn't exist even on the 90s before they tuned themselves in the room that they are in.
It's like a scary kid that pointing at me. Is someone there? Yeah.
That's exactly what it sounds like. Some of these things, and especially when you're like, I watched a couple movies and whatever with just the 90s and the stereo imaging. Like when something comes from the side, like no, it's not even there, but you know. Yeah. It's unbelievable how they make the sound, I guess, or it's just how you perceive it. And the best thing that I've done him with him now, I have him tune again. I tune them to the wide and I tune them to the narrow, right? So when you sit, the wide mode is definitely, it sounds good, but when you sit in the center, you can just tell where there's the singer, and then it becomes one. Like it's really cool.
Very cool.
But that's
Michael?
Obviously, that's about it. You go.
Yeah, it's a hard one because partially it's for different reasoning, at least for me anyway. But since it's a top 5 Bang & Olufsen speakers, you would have to put the 8000s in it, for my opinion. But then I would say
the first one of us 3, so
the 8002.
Yeah.
The slightly updated version, I would say. If you want terrific speakers that are still good and will last you forever, basically, get a set of those, because they do just about everything. Fourth, I would say the Beolab 1s.
Yeah, you have a special connection to them also, right?
Yes. But again,
I haven't heard them in real life, so I can't.
Seriously?
Comment on, no.
If you can find them anywhere, please do, because you'll be happily surprised. Like, probably don't sort of look for a heck of a lot of bass or anything, because that's not very much what they're made for.
Yeah, but
everything, it's sort of everything above about 120 hertz, they're so dead accurate. It's bizarre. I mean, they don't do the stereo imaging really like the newer speakers do, but you kind of have to measure for that. Yeah. So how I did it is like you measure literally from, like, how far am I away from that corner and what's the angle, and then you literally turn the speakers in towards you. You don't
like you do with other kind of speakers. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah. It's a bit more old-fashioned in that way.
Yeah,
but you throw anything at them and they just take it, and it's fine. And it's piercingly accurate. I love them.
Yeah.
So,
I would like to see a picture of me sitting next to them because they are like 180 or something. Hello.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah, definitely.
I like
you'll
my
be
fives. They're the same height.
Yeah,
big.
I think your ear would be roughly at the treble tweeter or at the tweeter.
Yeah, that thing's good, but yeah.
That's good.
Yeah, but
Well,
there's
I was
like
gonna say
another
it-
massive woofer above it,
Yeah.
and also styling wise, like there's almost impossible to find any other Bang & Olufsen speaker that has this much polished aluminium.
Yeah.
No.
They went crazy. They had like the 6,000. Well, we'll make it bigger.
Yeah, but not like a little bit bigger, like twice as tall.
Yeah.
And let's polish the whole thing and the back.
I think there would be the second to the 90s as far as how much aluminum they would have in them. Well, 90s have 900 cubic centimeters. I don't know how much but these are cladded in the whole entire. So that's a lot of aluminum if you think about it. So,
as a third place, actually, I wouldn't actually. Well, it is technically a speaker, but it's not a loudspeaker. It's a subwoofer. I would say the Beolab 2.
Yeah.
Because that thing parties. Like,
yes.
If you have any sort of house party, dinner party, any sort of... If you want to be drunk, again, you can kick it and you'll break your foot before you break the subwoofer.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that thing is massive. And...
It's tough as nails, too.
Yeah. And if, like most non-stereophile peoples are impressed by bass, a Beolab 2 kicks like a donkey, really.
Yes.
Yeah, the 19 are more accurate than...
Oh,
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah.
But they're not as impressive.
No, I like to watch the when the Lab 2 is sweating it because it's just like it's going from all sides. Like this thing is just pumping, right? It's definitely the 19 is cool, but you only see one side at a time of that
But
speaker.
yeah, a Beolab 2 really punches above its weight. Like the house I used to live in before, the living room was probably 50-ish square meters or so, and we could make all the windows dance. And it was double glazed.
For people that are impressed with the, what's it called, the Devenant Phantom speaker.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think I know what you mean.
Yeah, that one that pumps sound from the sides, and you can see everyone is showing YouTube clips when they see the bass is really woofing.
Oh, yeah. I saw
Yeah,
that.
but the Beolab 2 did it like 10 or 15 years ago, so
Yes.
yeah, so that it is impressive. Yeah.
I mean, I bloody love this thing. I mean, it's a bit harder to tune again. It's and that's mostly because of the passive woofers. Like the front one is fine, but the passive ones make it a bit
floppy.
Yeah.
shorter. Yeah, like but for movies that's totally fine.
It's perfect because the explosion rumbles through
Yeah.
like it should.
Whoa.
It is. It just goes through you and neighbors.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I must say, actually, I have more bass issues here at a lower volume with the 50s than I ever had with the Beolab 2. And that's mostly because the rubber donut it sits on was actually good on the Beolab 2.
It was a solid one, yeah. But I found still that when I had the Lab 2 in my house, which was wood floor,
Yeah.
it transferred the heck out of that. Like when it was going, you could feel it was going.
Oh,
Even
yes.
though it tried to cancel itself out by being pulled all these directions. No, that thing, when it started hauling ass, it would.
Yeah.
Then it made the house shake for sure.
But
Yeah,
if you really
compared-
want to have an earthquake, get 2 of them. And then you really are going to enjoy yourself if you want to watch a movie.
There's a big difference from the 19 where you can put a coin on it and it's almost max volume and the chassis doesn't shake, but the twos, they
Put the
shake.
coin inside the things.
Yeah,
Dance around that little handle deal.
Yeah.
Well, I guess the difference, though, is that with the Beolab 2, your house is doing the same thing as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's touche. I never tried it because I did have. I had 3 Beolab 2s at one point, but I never tried.
Of course you
put
did.
2 nines and 2. But we've done it in the theater where we did front and back. Like we've done, when I was trying to experiment with the 7.1 and 7. I guess it's not called 7.2 because it doesn't exist. It's 7.1 with 2 subwoofers.
Yeah.
You know, it's still only 1/10 of a channel that goes into the sub, no matter how many you have. It's just how the processor splits it. So yeah, we did one in the front and one in the back, and a 5s and a 9s at the front and back.
Free setup, yeah.
It was a good setup, but the problem was that the BeoSystem 3 would not allow for the speakers to work properly. I mean, the subs just didn't turn on. They turned on, but there was no bass directed to them.
Did all the bass go to the 5, so?
It just knows, like, these are not going to pull through, right?
Yeah.
So it would do it that way. But you could assign it differently, because we've done it again with the BeoSystem 4. And the BeoSystem 4, you can actually, because you can bass redirect, right? And bass redirect to all speakers, so then all speakers get their 100% of the bass frequencies that they're otherwise crossed over digitally on the TV side. And yeah, man, it was moving glass and walls, and we've lost ears that day.
I would almost say, especially for nowadays, if you want a fantastic home cinema setup or a home movie theater, get Beolab 1s for front, and then 8000 or 18s or whatever for rear, and then get either 1 or 2 Beolab 2s.
Yeah.
I mean, you can.
If you want to go really crazy, then you get the 4000s and 6000s or 6000s as a backs.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to go insane, but that's.
If you want to go insane, then you put 2 4000s above your head and do have an Atmos, then, right? That's
yeah, but
proper.
like I would almost think you that setup, what I just said, is probably under $7,000 now here.
Mm-hmm.
So, and you get stuff that still is absolutely amazing, and it is far superior than anything other new for $7,000.
Yeah.
I mean, you maybe miss out a bit on the
And
Dolby
design,
Atmos, but like not many movies are Atmos yet, and
no,
they get a great looking setup.
Yeah,
because the Beolab 2 is still one good looking subwoofer, because subwoofer is always like I told you, boxy.
And if nothing else, like if you have an Atmos set, it's useless anyway if you listen to radio, and this will do radio perfectly.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like the Lab 2 in the white color when it came in. It was less abrasive to touch, versus that magnesium powder coating look that they have.
Yeah.
Which it subdued the speaker more, but I very much appreciate. I've seen it only once in one client's house, but I very much appreciated the white color that they've done with it, because it makes it. It's like an oversized Lab 3 that a kid broke the lens off of. It's just a hole in there now. So yeah.
I'm left at number 2.
Yeah.
At number 2, and this is a hard one, but it's more so about the design than the actual necessary sound. It's the 12 3s.
Yeah, I would agree. They're nice speakers.
Yeah.
I mean,
I never thought of them.
They're so. This to me is like the least looking like a speaker ever.
Yes.
Like you would,
especially on the wall when white walls, completely.
If you do the 12-1s, if you do a 12-1 with the fabric, then it looks like a sconce without the lens, because the lens kind of gives it away to people that have been around B&O, but
in my case, you got to have at least 12 2s with the acoustic lens, because it's so iconic.
Yeah.
It has more design to it rather than just. It's very plain otherwise.
Well, 12-1s only came in fabric covers. So that was one of the drawbacks.
Yeah.
I mean, especially if you can wall mount them on a solid wall somewhere.
Yes.
I mean, get 4 of them and you're happy as Larry. Put a sub somewhere if you want to. It's probably not
I've done a sub
really necessary.
Exactly what you're talking about. I've done 12-3s at the front, 12-2s at the back.
Yeah.
And gentleman bought later on 7.4 for the center channel, so it's got all acoustic lenses around, and a Lab 2, of course, to boot. And
I think it is a user on the Beer World forum that also had that kind of setup, with all white. I think he has the freeze in the
Yeah, I think it's the black and white. That
and
photo.
It's 19 sub white also.
Yeah.
I don't remember what TV it has, but
it looks like a
really
BV10 or 11.
I would really love to own a set of the Lab 12-3s that Mia Ando did. Those the custom painted aluminum, because she does the
faded.
aluminum art. Yeah, I would really like to own a set of those. That would be a very nice set to have. I don't even know who would even, because that's more or less a piece of art. They had I think the show was in San Francisco that she also had here, and it was in a Roche Bobois store where they moved a whole bunch and then made the gallery out of it. But those I would definitely love to get, including one of those aluminum paintings that came with it.
Yeah.
To boot. Like that.
I'm also very happily surprised that they did them in white finally.
Well, you know the secret behind it.
No, tell me.
The secret behind the white color is it's very, very hard to produce a solid hueless extrusion of aluminum in the way that they're doing and anodize it properly. So basically the rejects were repainted or powder coated white because the hewing that happens occurs in aluminum. They were like physically they were perfectly fine, but just the discoloration within the metal itself would prone them to be rejected. So they just powder coat them and made them white colors.
Yeah, I like them, and I like that white color. I think that white color. I think I would like to have that white color on the front cover of the Eclipse.
Yeah, but you know what though? What I disliked about it, there was powder coat, so you could see, and you know that comes from a guy now that I'm retentive about the paint because I did airbrush myself and I understand how paint works and I know how shiny things can get and you can make them. I didn't like the fact that there was orange peel on it. On the and I don't that just killed it. Like it wasn't enough to make you notice it, but it was enough. And the biggest thing that really killed me with the white color was the way that the hole arrangement was done. It made them look dirty at the very center above the lens because the holes became progressively narrower and more denser. And in a white color, it becomes very pronounced in a.
I don't think I ever noticed that.
Sort of shatter your dreams there.
Yeah, but Michael, how would you place them? I hope you'll sleep tonight. Because it's always fun to see how people would place them. Because some people would like to have the acoustic lens on the top, and some would like them on the bottom. What do you prefer?
It depends a bit on the wall situation you're with.
I think it's height dependent.
Yeah, but it also like the way I live now, right? Like in the back, there's a dining room table, and then there's a low sort of very wide closet thing. Like it's more like a sort of long side table. So I would hang them upside down there, because if you hang it normally, the tweeter is like when you're standing, it's still above your ear.
Yeah.
So I would hang them upside down there. However, if I were to start from scratch and have a square room, I would put them all in the corner, tweeter side up, and then like do furniture around the speakers, not the other way around.
Is your girlfriend listening right now?
No, but she would probably agree.
Yeah.
Okay, good. That's fun.
I mean, she's not, I don't know, I wouldn't say she's a B&O addict, but she does like them.
Yes, I'm same with me. Mine.
That's good. All hooked.
And,
so what's the number one?
Well, for me, that's still the Beolab 5. But
number one.
Yeah. The biggest factors, though, for me, well, it's sort of twofold. Now, it's price and design. Like, the design is iconic, and I don't think we ever get something like that.
Yeah.
Somebody emulating David Lewis.
If that Beo have put it out new now, it would still blow people away.
Yeah.
It would look modern.
And secondly, like what I meant with price is like if you buy 3-4 year old sets here, they're about $8,000 now. And it's like so much sound, so much everything for fairly little money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, especially when you consider they were 22-ish new up to a year and a half ago.
Active speakers, they can do both music and movies. So all in one speaker. I almost think.
I mean, if you look on a purely acoustic level, like the Lab 50s and the 90s win hands down. That's not it really. But you have to take into consideration, especially now, that one is like almost 10 times as much, and the other one is like 6 times as much. And that makes a heck of a difference.
I like to see that both me and Wille have speakers on our list that our top 2s are the same speakers that we have, and Michael, your 50s didn't make the list.
No. Maybe the list is different in a year or so, but as of right now, I would almost... I have to think very hard if they even show up in the top 10.
Yeah. And also
based on the experience you've had, like that's crazy comparing to, because shit should just work out of the box for that money.
Yeah, I think so also.
Bottom line.
So that's partially why. And I mean, to put it this way, if they decided to sell the 90s for 50 grand instead of 70, then it'd be on the second place. Because the price is still sort of...
right for the product.
Well, it's still almost too expensive for just about everybody. But, I mean, 70 grand is an awful lot closer to like a brand new Audi.
Yeah,
but when you
how
come
often...
to if you look at the audio term, like when I look at it from the audiophile perspective, even for $100,000, they are a great deal compared to what you would have to spend. Like I follow a couple, these hi-fi crazy websites on a book face, and just the amount of equipment that is running a stereo set in a room that is
amplifiers and
my god, and how much
cables
heat would that have to do, and the cables that must have been blessed by a
Powered,
pope and that's all it is. Like these are oxygen free, copper free, or oxygen free copper, and I don't know, like whatever. This is like connectors that was mined out of a moon rock. Like who gives a hell, right? Like I don't care, man. It doesn't sound right to me. Like and then again you're subjected to, well, if you run it with this amp or if you run it with this amp, right? Where what I love about the B&O is that the voice match continuity is throughout the entire product line.
Yes.
You can match one thing with another and it's fine.